Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where I shake my brain nipples every day to get some of that dirty YouTube money so I can afford to provide you folks hands-on, in-person technology education that empowers you to do whatever you want to do. Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com in Durham, North Carolina. We're having a class on AI and web scraping next week. We have a class on extending AI capabilities with REST APIs. In a couple of weeks, we have more classes coming down the pike. If you're interested in attending an in-person class. Anyways, go to silicondojo.com to see what our current schedule is. Do remember, free to the end user is not free. That's why I shake my brain nips every day. If you would like to support the project, there is a donor box link down below. And now I know what you all have been saying. My longtime viewers have been saying, Eli, it's all China, 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 China. Where are the news stories we actually care about? What we actually want to hear about is massive layoffs. We come to the Eli the Computer Guy channel to learn why we're not going to be able to pay our mortgage next week. We don't come to this channel to find out why our empire is going to be destroyed within the next decade. Come on now, Eli, get back on track. And I'm excited to say we have some real layoffs coming for you, right? I know you like the layoff videos. I've been looking, but there's all these little layoffs, 50 here, 100 here, 500 there. Who the hell cares about that? I mean, other than the people that are actually getting laid off, right? But that doesn't make a good story. What makes a good story? Oh, that's right. Once we start getting into the 5-digit layoffs, you start talking about laying off 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 people. That's when things really, they just kind of get interesting at that point in time, right? Verizon set to cut about 15,000 jobs, convert some stores to franchises. And it actually looks like yay, looks like it's probably gonna be more along the lines of 20,000 employees gone from Verizon, right? Trump's economy is, I guess, going to plan. Elon Musk is going to be a trillionaire, and you're going to be dragging your kids out behind the 7-Eleven to sell their bungholes. I guess that is Trump's America that we're going to be getting. So this is interesting. Again, the big question I get from everybody is, Eli, how do I get a job? As I talk about, it is a lot about macroeconomic forces. And the issue is right now, macroeconomic forces suck. They suck. Really, really, really bad. Let's see here. Verizon is set to cut at least 15,000 jobs and convert 180 stores into franchises, marking its largest downsizing ever, according to reports from Reuters, the Wall Street Journal, and Bloomberg. The wireless carrier is struggling with market pressures from fewer new customers, and as competitors offer cheaper plans, and cable companies including Comcast and Charter are entering the market. The layoffs are reportedly set to take place as soon as next week and will affect about 15% of Verizon's workforce. Converting company-owned stores into franchises will remove those employees from the telecom giant's payroll, and according to Bloomberg, up to 20,000 jobs will be cut. So basically the idea here is about 15,000 jobs, so about 15% of the workforce is just going to be gone. They are going to be gone. They're going to be eliminated. Sayonara. Thanks for building our company. Get the fuck out, right? But here's an interesting thing, and this is one of the things you have to be thinking about, especially when you're in the corporate world, is there's like a job and there's a job. There's a whole question like, who do you actually work for? Who do you actually work for? And so curious thing here, so it looks like probably about 5,000 employees, somewhere around the 5,000 employees, right? You have 180 stores. So basically, Verizon runs their own Verizon stores, plus they have franchises. So what franchises are stores that are basically purchased by a third party, by some other company, and then they're run with the Verizon name. So think about this with McDonald's, Burger King, fast food companies. Most of those are franchises. You'll have corporate locations actually owned by the actual corporation, but most of the restaurants will be franchises. They're actually owned by somebody else, but then they go with the rules that are put down by the corporate person that they're franchising from. What I think is interesting here, though, is, there's this whole question about, like, in the modern society, how do you go from the mailroom to become CEO? Like, one of the big stories we hear in America, right, is this billionaire CEO started in the mailroom at this company and worked their way up, because that's how companies were 30, 40 years ago. The idea is that the company owned all processes. All processes in the company were being done by company employees. So you can move up, right? You start in the mailroom. Maybe there's a better job in the warehouse. You can shift over to the warehouse. You're in the warehouse. Maybe there's a better job in call center. You move over to call center. Then maybe there's like a low-level management position. Then you can hop over there, because it's all internal to the company, right? You're just lateraling. You're moving around in the company. One of the big issues we have in the modern world, though, is that these companies are subcontracting everything out. The janitors are subcontracted out. The security guards are subcontracted out. The call centers, well, AI at this point in time, right? The mail services are literally subcontracted out. If you go to a lot of facilities, if you go to a lot of corporate facilities, their mail rooms are actually being run by a subcontractor, right? Because they found that that's more economically viable. The issue then is that mail room, even though it's in the building, of the company, isn't actually, part of the company. So if you try to go from the mail room in this building, you literally have to interview with an entirely different company to try to get a job somewhere else. And then you're going to be an external hire. And then you have to, go over here, here, here. And so one of the interesting things is, it's like you work sort of for the company, but you don't necessarily get the pay and benefits. So think about this, right? When this is one of the things you see in the big tech companies. Again, a lot of the millennials are going to get smacked in the nut sacks, right? Because they work for tech companies. Motherfuckers ain't tech employees, though, right? There is a difference between a C++ developer and a fucking HR rep. The thing is, right, with a lot of these HR reps, if you talk with them, it's kind of funny. The marketing people and the HR people and the PR people, right? All of these ancillary people that are required in a company to make it run, right? You need to keep the ship going in a particular direction. The thing is, their pay and benefits have more to do with the value of the tech employees than it does their own actual value, right? If you have these employees over here, if you have the coders over here and the database administrators over here and the people that are actually doing the real valuable work, and they're making $150,000, $200,000 a year, you can't pay the other professionals in the company $60,000 a year. Like, what their actual value is probably $50,000 or $60,000 a year. But if you have an HR person making $60,000 a year, running herd over 100 or 1,000 engineers that make $200,000 a year, you're gonna start having a pissy HR person. And then everything's gonna go to hell. So what's cheaper? What's cheaper than having a pissy HR person? Just pay that fucking HR person $200,000 a year, right? Look, the cost for them is infinitesimal as far as the budget is concerned. Just pay them a commiserate pay rate with the technical people in the company. Maybe a little bit less because they're not technical, but somewhere in the ballpark, everybody can go to the same bar together and drink. It'll make everybody happy, right? And so that's one of the things a lot of people aren't thinking about. Again, a lot of these fucking millennials in these tech companies with their noses in the air and their heads up their asses, and they're like, you know how valuable I am? Motherfucker, yes, I in fact do. I don't think you do. I actually knew a CEO of a tech company. It was interesting. And they had grown exponentially. Everything had been wonderful. And then their chief marketing officer. So the chief marketing officer was basically, it wasn't one of the founders, but one of the very, very, very first employees. And the funny thing was, is the chief marketing officer did not feel he was being compensated appropriately as the company took off. And sitting there drinking a beer one day, and the CEO was like, well, he was correct. I fear he's going to find out he was correct in the wrong way. For the actual quality of work he was doing, he was only worth about 2/3 what we were paying him. But because since he was one of the original employees and everything else, we just kept his compensation going up and up and up because, again, it's just really just not worth the argument. You don't want to have the CMO having a pissy day. And so the funny thing, and again, this is the real world, so the CMO gets huffy because he's not being compensated properly. He just doesn't realize that he is correct, just in the wrong way. And so the thing to be considering here, right? So if you have these Verizon stores, if you have these Verizon stores, right? If you're a Verizon employee at a Verizon store, what are the career prospects there, right? You can start at the store, maybe you can become manager, maybe you can go into corporate, maybe you can do all these other things. What happens to your career prospects when the Verizon store you work for suddenly becomes a franchise? Because that franchise is an entirely different company that simply has the Verizon name. And so that's going to be one of the things you're going to be needing to be thinking about with this whole economic, kerfuffle that is currently happening, is understanding where all the value in your company actually is. One of the big problems we have with a lot of employees is they only focus on the salary. They only focus on the healthcare benefits. Look, you need salary and healthcare benefits, don't get me wrong. But one of the things you need to be thinking about is who do you meet on a daily basis? Right? If you're looking at career prospects, I would rather make a little less money, but be around the executives every day. Think about that, right? If you're an executive assistant, if you're dealing with the department that's dealing with the executives all the time, if you are always around the executives, there is a hell of a lot of value simply in that, right? Again, the value of being able to laterally transfer, the value of different things. This is some of the stuff that you're going to have to be thinking about. And I think as this economic kerfuffle happens, I think a lot of people are going to be happy because they've kept their job. Hey, I didn't get laid off. They may not realize how much damage is actually being done to their career prospects, though. And as things, go into the future, right? A franchise is simply going to have less money. It is going to have less fat to cut than a company the size of Verizon. So something to consider there. The cuts will reduce non-union management positions by over 20% and mark one of CEO Dan Schulzman's first moves to downsize the company. This is the other big thing to be thinking about, right? If you're a technology professional, who do we in general support? We in general support management, right? You talk about email, you talk about Slack, you talk about AI shit, you talk about databases, you talk about CRM solutions, you talk about, SEO and clicks and cost per click and all that kind of stuff, right? That is the management positions. We generally, by and large, support management. So when you see a 20% management cut, that's going to hit the tech department. Verizon needs aggressive change, including, quote, cost transformation, fundamentally restructuring our business expense. Schulman said last month, quote, we will be a simpler, leaner, and scrappier business. This is what we are hearing from everybody from Mark Zuckerberg to Elon Musk to AT&T. I think I talked about AT&T before. All these companies are talking about being simpler, leaner, eliminating layers of management and the whole nine yards. And the reason is because money has been so inexpensive for so long. It became very easy to become bloated with employees. And if money is rolling in, right? If money is rolling in, do you really want to deal with firing employees? Firing employees sucks. Right? I had a buddy of mine in Kimpo. Motherfucker literally got paid to fire people. I shit you not. Fucker flew around the country. His only job was to walk into the fucking building, call people into a meeting room, and fucking fire them. That was his six-figure salary bouncing around the country, right? Because the fact of the matter is, a lot of people don't really want to understand this, is that most bosses, most owners don't really like to fire people. Right? One of the best pieces of advice I ever got from a CEO from 20 years ago. He said, basically, as a CEO, he said, we are too quick to hire people and too slow to fire people, right? And that is a truth that employees want to gloss over because they always want to think the boss is the bad guy and all that kind of thing, right? So anyways, right, they've been building up all of these excess employees for damn near a decade at this point in time because, if the money is rolling in, if everybody's palms are getting greased, do you just want to deal with the sadness? Looking into somebody's eyes as they start to do the math, the profit loss statements on how much money they can make out behind the 7-Eleven, right? That's a sad, right? It's sad to look at somebody like that and then go drink a really good beer and have a really nice steak. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna have a really nice, drink a really good beer and have a really nice steak, but it's, I don't know, it just kind of clouds the entire experience there. And so again, people just simply haven't been being fired and laid off, and now they are, because they need simpler, leaner, scrappier businesses. The company had about 100,000 U.S. employees at the end of 2024, after cutting almost 20,000 over 3 years, according to Reuters. So they had started cutting back in the early 2020s. They had already cut 20,000 employees, so they're going to be cutting another 15,000 employees, with another 5,000 getting spun off into this whole franchise system. So yeah, that is currently what is happening. Don't worry, boys and girls. It's not. This channel is not all gonna be about China, man. We're gonna be about layoffs too. I know why you come. I know why you come. You come for your little bit of misery. You wake up in the morning, it's a sunny day, a blue jay is on your shoulder, and you're like, you know, I just feel a little too good about the world. I just feel a little too happy. Let me go watch Eli the Computer Guy so he can smack me back down into reality. I know why you're here. So anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about Verizon cutting 15,000 jobs? What do you think about the interesting conundrum, the situation 5,000 employees are going to find themselves in as they still have jobs, but they're cut off from the main corporation, and so their prospects and the rest of it are not going to look like what they did yesterday. What do you think about that kind of thing? What do you think about this? Just the continued Trump economy. Are you tired of winning yet? Are you just, I'm so exhausted of winning in this Trump economy. I don't know, put your thoughts down below. If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. If you hate these videos, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing, call me a dumbass. Just be a real Lutnick and put a strong American comment down there. Do you remember what I actually care about is Silicon Dojo? SiliconDojo.com, free to end user hands-on technology education that empowers you to do whatever the hell it is you want to do in Durham, North Carolina. We have a class coming up on AI and web scraping next week, completely full. Don't sign up for it. We have another class coming up on extending AI capabilities with REST APIs in a couple of weeks. We have more and more classes coming up. If you're interested, take a look at the schedule at SiliconDojo.com. Do you remember free to the end user is not free? That's why I shake the brain nips every day. So if you want to throw some money into the donor box link down below, that would be ever so lovely. And with that, see y'all later.